It's like we have a quorum here, so with that, we are recording, so I will then open up the Lost Pines Groundwater Conservation District meeting, board meeting, Wednesday, March 19th. It is 3:30. Welcome, everyone, and welcome to everyone online. So the first up, I guess we will please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance, Texas Pledge. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic which stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor the Texas flag, pledge allegiance to one day, for God, one indivisible. Thank you. Has anyone signed up for public comments, or would anyone like to make public comments? I don't see anyone here in the office. Anyone online that would like to make public comments? All right, seeing none, then we will move on to agenda item number 3, the consent agenda. Consent agenda items are routine, will be enacted by one motion. There'll be no separate discussion or action unless these items are requested by a board member. I do have a minor change to the minutes, so I'll need to pull out the meeting minutes. It's just a date change. There's a reference to Wednesday, and it was Tuesday. So I'd like to pull that out so we can make that change. But other than that, anybody else on the consent agenda would like to pull anything out? If not, I'll entertain a motion on items 3, B, and C. Move. Second. All right, we have a motion by Director Smang and seconded by Director Texter. All those in favor, aye. Aye. Any opposed? All right, so regarding the meeting minutes, 3A, the staff informed me this morning that there was a minor correction. The date was referenced as a Wednesday, and it should have been Tuesday.
It's very top of the first page.
Yeah, so just had normally our we have meetings every third Wednesday, but because of the conflict with the conference, we had moved it to Tuesday, so it was a bit of a change, and I guess that got by everybody, including ourselves. So with that,
I'd make a motion for the minutes with that change.
Okay.
Second.
Okay, motion by Director Cole, seconded by Director Rogers. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, that motion passes. All right, 4A, regular agenda announcements. I guess, Bobby, you can make an announcement regarding the LCRA 2 dates. There was a status hearing at 9 a.m. this morning in Bastrop District Court, and you guys came up with a date for the hearing.
We did. We met with the judge this morning and we agreed on a trial date of January 12th, 16th of 2026.
Okay. And, any update on Rambo? I believe you folks are still hitting it down, so it's not, but it's looking like the middle of April.
It's looking like April for that one for the preliminary hearing. We had an issue on some of the parties for the dates in March.
It's looking like maybe mid to late April, and they're still, you guys are still mailing down the exact date, but that's roughly the dates for the Rambo.
That's correct.
Here. Okay, those are the 2 announcements I had. Anybody else with any announcement? It's probably middle to late April, but there's no specific date here. Trying to vote that out. It's looking like late April. Okay, if no other further announcements, moving on to item 4B, discussion, consideration, and possible action on the amended district legal services contract for the law firm of Gray and Starr, Aaron and Moody, PC. So there's been some updates. So I forwarded Director Burgess your comments to Natasha. We met at the governance committee with Kay. Kay had input there. So this contract, it has been updated from last month. Anybody with, any further comments? Good,
The billing didn't quite match.
yeah, good. I asked, Natasha to address that. Looks like she did. Anyone else with any further comments or questions on it? All right, then I guess I'll entertain a motion.
Move that we approve the contract as amended.
All right, motion made by Director Rogers, seconded by Director Burgess. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, motion passes. Item 4C, discussion on the 2024 management plan objective and goals date. So everyone should have a handout on the dais from Jim, and Jim, I'll give you the floor.
Thank you, Mr. President. So what you have is the draft of the 2024 management update, which covers the requirements of the management plan, the collection of annual statistics for the district that are required, as well as a summary of the 2024 monitoring report. So everything that's in here is essentially a draft. I want to give you all a chance to provide comment and feedback before we go ahead and make it a final version for the next board meeting. But some of the key take homes, I expanded a few sections. I've added some new things to the report from previous ones. Included a section covering drought and climate, which I thought might be relevant to understanding some of the pumping patterns. Included a section on water export, showing the statistics of which permits are exporting water and how much water is being exported under each of those permits. For those that are curious, the total number is 4,570 acre feet last year. And that's split between Aqua, City of Elgin, City of Hutto, Lee County Water Supply, and Manville Water Supply. So basically just added some new sections of statistics to kind of help everybody keep track of what's going on within the district. And then the summary of the water monitoring for 2024, kind of a mixed bag. Mostly we saw water levels decline across the formations, and I'll go into more when we actually finalize the report. But between the start and the end of 2024, Simsboro and the Sparta declined by about 3 feet. Carrizo and Queen City went down around 1.5 feet. Calvert Bluff actually came up slightly, and the Hooper was basically unchanged. And they'll get the year-on-year comparisons. Those numbers kind of track across those formations as well. But like I say, I wanted to get this draft to you, let y'all review it, provide any comments or feedback, and then we can look at it being finalized for the next board meeting. I'd also like to go back and do a bit more of a deep dive on not just the DFC wells, but all the water levels in the district. Once we get this next round of monitoring done in March and early April, so possibly for May, have something that's a little bit more in depth, looking at by county, and then also breaking the district up into regions, looking at a north, central, and southern region. I think going forward, that's going to be kind of our three more active areas, or three areas of different impacts and different interests. So I would like to go back through and break them up and look at them in that context. So maybe for the May meeting.
So, Joe, review this. We're going to talk about it in the next meeting.
I'd like to
and you'll go in a little more in depth about it.
Yes, ma'am. Yeah, I'd like to get any comments or feedback from y'all, and then we can finalize it and do a formal discussion of it next meeting.
Will the management committee perhaps look at this also at our committee meeting?
Yes.
I did highlight that there are some issues in the management plan with specific dates and years that are kind of out of date that need to be reevaluated. References to assistant general manager's position that doesn't exist. So I pointed those out in the report as well, where we need to come back and revisit some of those things.
Right. Anyone with questions for Mr. Todd? All right, so then we'll have this on the agenda again for next meeting, and that'll be the final update, and that'll get, and so then that'll be in the packet the next meeting, and
With any comments or edits, or,
okay,
I know you like to find all the comma splices and all the
on the ground
grammar errors that I made.
That's
So
right.
I look forward to that feedback.
So maybe give 2-3 weeks to get comments back to you.
Yeah, comments and edits I should be able to do this fairly quickly, so I'd say the week before the board
A
meeting.
week before the board meeting, if you have any comments, let's get them to Jim, so it gives him at least a week to test it.
Yeah.
A week of the seventh.
I would like to ask on all of these numbers that you're giving, those are not hard and fast, right? Are these likely to change?
Which numbers specifically?
The numbers of what's produced and permitted, that kind of thing.
That is the results from 2024, yes.
I'm asking if there is, any possibility or whatever that these are gonna change. How much are these gonna?
Those numbers should not change.
Yeah, I'm asking.
Oh, like
I'm
in-
asking what you got here as opposed to down the road.
Well, so that if we're looking at like exempt production, that's entirely driven by climate. So if we have a drought, those numbers are gonna be higher, you know, so those numbers are all being driven by our permit. So I can't predict what they're gonna do from year to year. Aside from the fact that they probably will grow over time as local demands come, you know, as local demands grow. Or just general population growth, within the service areas. I mean, there are a lot of factors, but there are very few factors that would cause those numbers to go down over time. Aside from, you know, an exceptionally wet year or something like that, which would just temporarily lower the numbers, but on a long enough average, they're going to increase over time.
Any other questions? We have another opportunity next month to ask further questions once we have a chance to actually go through. There's a lot to go through right now. All right, so we'll then move on to item 4D, which is discussion, consideration, and possible action on the fall 2024 desired future conditions well monitoring update, which is
Section 5 of the report I just provided, all the summary of that's in there, so I
okay.
kind of took both of those at the same time.
All right, so section 5 of this is the DFC update from last. Okay. How many wells did we monitor last fall?
Roughly year 50 or 60, I think it's 50-ish in the fall, yes, sir.
Okay. Well, we're improving. We're
Yeah.
going up. That's the right direction.
Said 40 at our.
I think it's 40, I can't recall, it was 40 or 50, yeah, between 40 and 50-ish.
All right, well, we're going in the right direction. We need to constantly improve that. It's just a process of constant improvement, getting the landowners, getting their access, and then trying to get those geographic areas pointed out by LRE. And eventually we'll get around 80 or 100 perhaps in that range.
Yes, sir. And I did mention in there that we did multiple rounds of mailings and got very little response from that, so the next step will be trying to go out and catch people in person.
Or alternates, or maybe some alternate
Yeah.
areas perhaps, if there is.
If push comes to shove, we'll look for alternates, but right now, make another swing at the ones that didn't respond and try and catch them in person.
I know these are averages. When you were going through this, did anything stand out, like anything had dropped way more, the average than off of it? Where it's like a hot spot?
Not at the level I was looking at. Part of the things I'd like to revisit, like I said, in May, is not looking at the DFC network, but looking at the district as a whole.
Right.
Which would then allow us to bring in things like all of the wells up near Lexington that are being affected. So we can get a better kind of handle on what's going on, because that's not DFC related per se.
Right.
That's kind of a separate operation. So that's why I'd like to go back and bring those in as well and have a secondary look at those.
I'm just wondering, because average is just an average.
Yeah.
All right, so this will be another item to carry over for next month as well to finalize that. Okay, so C and D will carry to the next month, and we'll finalize that. And I'll give us an opportunity to review this next month. All right, anything else on that one? 4E. Discussion, consideration, and possible action on a draft budget amendment. Several months back, the board, I think we voted to use the $200,000, which is roughly what we get in interest payments.
I don't recall if it was a board vote or it was just a discussion.
Yeah, okay, it might not have, yeah, I remember the discussion for sure. Yeah, we might not have voted on it, but I believe we gave you direction to go ahead and put forth a draft plan for using our interest monies that we gain through interest to start some programs, in particular perhaps a rainwater harvesting program.
And so the budget amendment that you have in front of you is basically doing that. It's looking at taking an estimated $200,000 in interest and adding it to general revenue for the district for 2025, and then allocating that effectively to three separate programs. One of those being the rainwater harvesting rebate program, which is something that's being developed through the education committee. It's looking at, I believe it's $1 per gallon, for rebating $1 per gallon of installed capacity up to 5,000 gallons for property owner. So that would be the $100,000 allocation. The other, of the remaining 150,000 would be allocated for well plugging assistance, which is something that we've talked about in the past. We've just never allocated money for it. That would help landowners with the cost of plugging abandoned or unused wells. And the final $50,000 is something that I'll touch on in the GM report as well, but that would be allocated as matching funds for a Texas Water Development Board grant that we have applied for, looking to purchase and supply irrigation meters to ag irrigation users within the district to help them comply with the district's new rules from last fall. So that would be the three programs that we're looking at allocating that money to.
How much does it cost to plug a well?
It really depends on how deep the well is, how late it's a volume. You know.
Right, but it's there, right?
I talked to one driller several months ago and he estimated around $5,000. I don't anticipate this being a big program. There are a few places where we know we need it. I've had a couple of landowners that have kind of tugged at my sleeve for, off and on for a couple of years about it. And this would just kind of give us a chance to set aside and see what kind of demand there is. But I don't anticipate there'd be a whole lot of people lining up to plug wells. But if we want to go a different way with that money, we absolutely can. That was just.
Would we cap wells if somebody wanted something capped and not plugged?
We could discuss it. I mean,
Because that'd be a lot less money.
right.
Is
Well,
it just
okay.
water wells? Or is it well?
Just exempt wells, exempt water wells, yes, ma'am. Yeah, we're not looking to plug 2,000 foot deep gas wells.
I just saw a flyer from the state of Texas where they were looking for landowners with oil and gas wells. But there's a program that the state has in motion.
Well,
Yeah, I think it was the reminder. I just got a flyer in the mail the other day.
and I spoke with Bobby Bazan at the Texas Groundwater Association last week. He's tracking, there is a bill in the legislature this session to create a revolving grant fund for groundwater districts to plug wells. Apparently it's been filed several times and it's never made much headway, but again, if that does end up getting passed, then we could rededicate that 50,000 to something else once that program's up and running. But in the short term, that would at least get us started if we want to go that direction. The interest from the Texas pool account.
Notice that we transferred $400,000 to that account in January.
Yes, ma'am.
That was overage from last year that was spent, obviously.
Yeah.
We're taking in what they spent. I don't have a problem with any of the project. It's just the accounting. I don't see that we should take it out of an existing account when you have that money coming in. It's already accruing. And granted, some of the things on the budget list itself are pretty overcharged. They're a little
Generous.
generous. Oh,
they're-
that's a good.
They're padded.
They're a little generous. using our existing income to pay for these funds. I don't see how you could not pay, but knowing what you've got.
Well, so if I hear what you're saying correctly, what you're proposing is to reallocate the existing operating funds rather than budgeting off of the interest.
Yes, rather than withdrawing,
Yeah.
making a withdrawal out of your investment
Yes, sir.
using operating funds. You
So-
can always steal it from yourself.
I suppose the end result would be the same. My response off the cuff would be that does not solve the problem that the board originally set out to, which was basically trying to stem the income, the growth of the textbook account. Because if we leave the money in there, it continues to accrue interest and it continues to go up.
That's not a problem.
But
That was the discussion that we had last year.
if you don't take it out of this, your earnings, you're going to make another 400 grand deposit at the end of the year again. And you'll be right back in the same boat. Is the way I see it. You have the money in hand. Use the money you have on hand as opposed to.
Well, on
Your
paper, we
investments.
really don't have the money on hand, because like you said, things are padded, but they're allocated towards legal or some other fund. So right now, they're really it's really,
It's a recurring
Yeah, it's-
pattern.
yeah,
of those
I
deposits.
hear it.
It's just proper
I hear you.
accounting.
Do we have an accountant who advises us on matters such as this?
That typically what we would get direction from our auditors. Yes, sir.
Maybe a separate account?
Is a checking account now?
Yeah,
Or
maybe
operating
maybe a separate account where it's still gaining interest, maybe? I'm just,
Yeah, we don't know. I think she's just, trying to go for it.
I think it's still in the
Procedures,
plenary
recognize.
stages.
Well, the other thing I was concerned about is you throw it out now, you're gonna lose money.
Well,
So
Especially until Mr. Trump figures out what he's gonna do.
the other approach could possibly be running these programs on more of a draw. So as expenses for those line items come in, we pull money from tax pool to meet those specific line items. So that way the bulk of the money remains in the account during the year,
Yeah.
maybe quarterly, like a quarterly draw.
quarterly, bi-monthly, just on some sort of a basis. So that way we're not pulling that cash out immediately.
Right.
The majority of it can remain there and we just use it on a full basis.
And that could be a solution as well.
Yeah.
You don't have to. have it financed or can't, but it's
Right.
something. Put it.
We also don't know the demand for these programs at this
Right.
moment, so we may need all of that, we may not need all of it. So,
Yeah.
yeah, maybe just take it out as, every quarter, maybe every quarter, and. That makes sense.
That
who's,
would be my
who's gonna draft up this plan?
Guy looking at his cell phone.
I'm just curious, which
What?
committee, which person?
But my recognition, in recognition of the fact that this may not be entirely private at the moment, I think the board could approve the general amendment on the proviso that the budget committee or the finance committee
Yeah.
develop the structures on how this will be processed.
Yeah.
And then the individual committees that are associated with the different programs
Okay.
can come back with their own budgets from there.
Yeah.
So at least we can move forward on it, but then, the board gets one final bite at the apple based on how all this gets drawn up.
And were you saying $1 a gallon capacity?
Yes, sir.
Up to five,
Up to a 5,000 gallon tank?
So if you come in, if you put a
So you get a
55 gallon
30
drum in, you
gallon
get a 55 gallon rebate. If you put in a 5,000 gallon tank, you get a $5,000 rebate.
How often?
Just.
I would say, kind of working on the details, but the initial thought is once per property.
Okay, so
So-
they can't do 5,000 this year, and then, you know what, we thought we put in a.
No, that's the max. That's the max.
And so is that written?
No,
Well, again,
that's
that-
finance.
the education committee's bringing those details.
Jim, just remind me, because I can't remember, is all of our operating budget and a bank account, a regular bank account, if it is a term interest?
So,
Yeah, right,
yes, effectively it is because our operation, unlike tax-based districts, our budget doesn't come in all at one time.
Mhm.
So we get paid monthly, quarterly, depends on the permit holders. But all of that money does go into a checking account and then that gets moved back and forth.
until the end of the year.
Well, we move money into tax pool whenever we get close to around 400,000 or higher in the checking account, just to keep the account balance. We try to keep the checking account balance around 250,000.
I used to forget all that. I just forgot.
It's up on the street,
Yes, yeah, like I said, we try to keep it around 250.
so 400,000 did in January, was there another one in 2024, like in June or something? I could think. Was
I-
that the only?
I don't
deposit?
recall off the top of my head, like, that's one of those operations, whenever, it's really about keeping us at or below, it's close to the FDIC insured, limits, plus the pledge collateral bank. And so we make those movements whenever we need to, based on the growth of the balance in that account. So I couldn't tell you off the top of my head, how many, if we did 2 last year, if we did one the second one, then. I think we did do one during the summer, maybe 200,000, but I don't recall.
I don't ever know. It's like, oops, we got to get money.
Just move it over somewhere where it's a little bit safer to park it.
Mr. Chairman, it seems to me, I don't know, and I read the entire packet today. And somewhere in there, I saw, I think I made a motion that we take this interest money and set a separate account. We're not talking about putting it in and then taking it. But I think this board has passed a motion that interest money be set up in a separate account. And I've been sitting here trying to find it, I hadn't been able to.
Director Spang, I think what you were thinking of last meeting, we asked the board to approve us creating a new account so we could segregate export fees from the rest of our operating fund. And that's what was passed by the board last month.
Yeah, I do recall that. Those export fees specific to that new law that was enacted, that we adopted.
Okay, so that's not going into the operating account, it's going into a separate account.
Yes, that's
So we're
going
not
in.
gonna have all this extra money going into the operating
That,
Well, ideally, but but because of the interest payments, that account tends to grow just due to the interest alone. But yes, the export's gonna be a separate account just for the export fees, because we are limited in how we can spend that. You can only spend it for mitigation or scientific purposes.
account. But I still think it may have been in a governance committee meeting, I may.
I can look back, I can look,
Might be just totally wrong, but. Just recall
Mhm.
that we were talking about interest of $20,000 to $30,000 a month.
yeah, yeah,
And just putting that into a separate account and not into the operating where then we have to put it in.
I can take a look at the meeting last year where we discussed this and see if a vote actually occurred or not. I couldn't recall initially whether or not we had voted on it. I could look into that and then we'll bring it up to Jim.
I'll say, if that is the case, we'll need another board action to authorize another bank account,
Right, for that.
which will be another 2 months, because then we have to come back with a certified agenda to open the account. So we can certainly do it. It's just,
Yeah, well, let's see if we voted on and what we voted on a few months back and just verify, what happened. But if not, at least we can give you the green light. Do we need to pass a motion to give you the green light to continue? Yeah, this is just a draft budget. It sounds like we want you to continue down this path. Do we need to vote on it? Or should we?
I think you could just refer it to the finance committee to begin with. The finance committee can then parcel out, do the basic block and then parcel it out back
All
to the
right,
other.
so we'll parse this out to the finance committee and they can work some of the further details, but at least everyone's seen the draft.
Let me ask Mr. Stein, the one that the council you're talking about. You think it was set up and it actually has money in it?
Oh, no, it's not set up yet. No, it's not set up yet. It was a plan to do in the future. We haven't done it.
But I think, and I stand corrected on whether we're talking about interest money or export.
Export.
But I just, in here somewhere, I read today that I made that motion to set up that separate account
Okay.
It's in there.
In the packet?
in the packet.
Okay.
Okay, if it was if it was in the meeting minutes, for example, then it was probably regarding the export fees. Because that's the one that we dealt with just recently. with the
Okay,
export
well,
fee.
I will stand corrected on that.
I'll double check on it. I'll check.
I remember I made the motion it's in here.
I'll look.
Scheduled projects.
I'll keep us honest. I'll look. I will look. All right, so we're good there. Any other questions regarding the draft budget amendment? We're good? All right. So that'll be referred to the finance committee, and they can finalize that along with the other committee. All right, item 4F, discussion, consideration of possible action on groundwater management area 12 explanatory report update. Mr. Totten, I guess the update, the update is last time we met, we had received a proposal by AGS on the explanatory report, and we handed that out to everybody took a look at that. A few days thereafter, that proposal was withdrawn. And so then Jim reached out to our consultants LRE. And so Jim, if you can give us an update on your discussions with LRE.
And I appreciate you being diplomatic because James Beach is on the line. So, but yeah, AGS did withdraw their proposal to write the explanatory report. I spoke with Gretchen at LRE, and my main concern was if we could get LRE to match basically the cost estimate provided by AGS. We'd already sent the two smaller districts back to their board to get approval on the cost share. And so if we can come back in that same basic cost region, then we don't have to send them back for another round of approvals from their board. We just spoke with Dr. Fernandes, and he said that they are basically willing to adopt the AGS proposal as written. So we will put that forward at the next GMA meeting and offer to have a LRE take over for AGS. I understand that Intera may be interested in putting forward a proposal as well. So we'll see what comes up at the next GMA meeting. But right now, I'm hopeful that we can put this Flying Dutchman of an agenda items, to bed and get LRE to take over the AGS proposal at the cost. It's already been approved by the other two districts. So.
But it would stand to reason that it would either be Intera or LRE that would move forward because we have to report. Stand to be one of those two.
Yes.
I guess we'll figure it out at the next GMA. You'll figure it out at the next GMA 12 meeting.
I'm honestly at the point where if I had the money, I'd just offer to write a check and we can just get it done, but I just want this off the agendas.
Fair enough.
Mr. Chairman, interrupting, but I have minutes last meeting. President Hernandez claimed the bank's request for an agenda item on this matter that's talking about the export.
Yes, that's the export.
Board discussed export fees selected being held separately, other fees. C, Secretary Treasurer Semang moved to approve a new export fee bank account. Director Textor seconded the motion, which carried unanimously.
There you go. So it was export.
Thank you.
All right, so that was regarding the export. Anything else regarding the GMA 12 explanatory report? We'll know more next month.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. All right, moving on. Committee reports with possible board discussion. No action will be taken. Financial Services Committee did not meet. So I'll move on to the Governance Committee. We met on March 5th. The usual folks are in attendance, myself, Kay Rogers, Michael Semang, Natasha Martin, Bobby, and Jim Totten. I'm gonna get your last name right. Today I asked Bobby exactly how to now, and I haven't gotten it perfect, but so I know it was SAW. So. Because I've been pronouncing it incorrectly, and I apologize. So we planned for the March board meeting, for today's board meeting, the contract updates, the management plan update, draft amendment. And then we also went on to discuss the grant meters, because today actually was the deadline for that grant proposal for the Texas Water Development Board grant. Jim will update us on that. And today is also the deadline where all the hydrologists and all the GCDs were going to provide, or the well file is due to the GMA 12 today. We're planning the Aquifer 101 training for next month in April. LRE will be providing this presentation. And Jim is still planning to roll out new email accounts to the directors. There was the person who you were working with postponed, and so it got delayed. So that's the governance committee. Next up, infrastructure committee.
Okay, the infrastructure met on March 7th. Committee members that met were Kay, Herb, myself, and Tom. And then Jim also attended as well as Elvis. Beginning the week of March 10th, Jim was going to have Peggy and Dana start entering old water level data so that could be bulk imported to the database. Did that happen?
We've got 200 or so ready to go up probably tomorrow or the next day.
But they're not entered.
Not yet, no. But they're cross-referenced and updated with the new well numbers, so.
Okay. Jim has made progress on identification of SDR unregistered well duplications. It's going to have Dana and Peggy delete duplicate wells starting the week of March 10th. And he thought that would only take a day or two. That been done?
We've removed about 800, or I'm sorry, about 700 of the 800 are identified. Dana found some that I matched. I matched. They were matched based on drilling date, owner, and GPS. And I just pulled out the ones that, the first one that occurred in the list. When Dana started deleting them, she found that some of them had additional data that wasn't showing up. So there's still about 100 or so of those duplicates that are in there that we need to cross-reference.
700 or
Yes, sir.
good. Jim's going to ask the well permit holders to report production by individual well and not in aggregate. This should only involve about 20 permit holders, and letters are going to be sent out the week of March 10th. That's great. Since past year's data is aggregated, new production data will be prioritized. Going forward, water quality data is going to be put into the database when the reports come into the office. The well number will be referenced by matching with the well owner name by Dana. It's possible that in the future we can scan in past reports and have that data available also. But before we can do any of this, we need to decide which water quality parameters that we want to capture database.
We've already started forwarding the water test results to Dana to upload the PDFs directly. And then
So we'll just have to decide which.
right now, I think TDS, iron, salt, sulfur, the kind of the basics, but we can refine that if we need to.
Right. Okay. LRE is looking at updating our database data with the Texas Water Development Board. Jim has accompanied LRE on the well monitoring task up to now, but they've had extensive notes, and so Jim's assistance shouldn't be needed going forward. We had thought about 40 wells had been monitored last year. We expect 70 wells to be monitored this year and as many as 100 with the well watch program. When a Form 300 comes in, that's a well registration and completion form. When it comes into the office staff is going to enter the well driller's water level data into the database of that well. So we have a baseline.
That had actually already been done, but on the back end, the database does not take the driller's reported number, which goes in under the completion data. That does not get reflected into the water level data for each well. We have a fix for that. I'll talk about in the GM report, but
Okay.
that had been going on. It just wasn't. There are two separate places for water level
So you've
data.
got to wait.
Yeah, well, we'll have to
Annually.
pull it and then bulk upload it again. That's just a failing on the back end of the database.
We still have leaks in the roof, so Jim's gonna get bids for roof replacement as well as get someone to fix water leaks around some of the windows. Any bids yet?
Not yet.
Contact's been made with the Giddings landscape about getting a plan and a bid for exterior landscaping that would involve rain barrier, catchment, and native plants. One option is to use a 14-inch edging barrier and fill that with pea gravel and then place pots and barrels on top of this. Another is to dig out the stumps using an edging, putting in soil, plants, and barrels. Hopefully we can get some cost estimates within a month or so for those projects.
That's clear to work with because kind of her brainchild about how she wants to,
Yeah, right,
to
right.
avoid that for educational
Exactly.
purposes, so.
Exactly.
If it was me,
You
it'd
just
be-
need to get new bid on it. That's it for the infrastructure.
The rain barrel really fits with the.
Yes, it would be perfect. Sort of an education outside.
Practice what we preach.
Yeah.
All right, then Education and Outreach Committee. Claire, you'll be,
Yes, sir. Hey, y'all. Thank you to everyone who came for open house. Giddings Times and News posted a couple pictures in their newspaper. And I will be releasing it in the April newsletter, some pictures from it. So it was fun. I mean, y'all were there. And then we also had a family come. And that was really fun to interact with kids, and they were really smart. They were awesome. Okay, so Emmanuel Lutheran Water Workshop Part 2 is happening on April 2nd. This time we are going to be exploring watersheds, with the basic information on watersheds and the effects of pollution on watersheds. If you are interested in coming to that help, I believe Tom and Cheryl are already planning to come, but if you'd like to, let me know. Just send me an email. This is pretty far out. On June 13th, we are having, not June 13th, sorry, June 17th, we are having a healthy lawn workshop. This is in collaboration with the Texas Water Resource Institute and the Lee County AgriLife Extension Service. The guy who's gonna be talking, he is from Dallas. I've seen him out in Bastrop give a presentation on something similar to this. He's fantastic. So I'm really looking forward to bringing him to our community and our region. Okay, nothing new with the K through 12 art contest or the photo voice contest. However, I did want to let everyone know that we are going to, this is one aspect of our initiative to support workforce development concerning the water industry, specifically with community members and students. So we are going to get involved with the 4-H Water Ambassador Program. It's also called 4H2O. It's a wonderful program that takes different 4-H students throughout the state and trains them on water, all things water in Texas. So it's a really cool program. We're going to be doing a scholarship for that. The submission deadline is May 12th. Any questions?
You know, Tom and I were talking about that on the way over here, and student doesn't have to be in 4-H to apply, but then they have to join 4-H.
Correct.
So I mean, that's a big thing. I mean, there might be students just interested in science that would, they think 4-H is not something up their alley, but they would really like this. We might approach.
So are you sending that to all the counselors at all the high schools, or?
Yep, all the usual people I release my stuff to.
This is a scholarship for one person this year, right?
Or not. I think we were planning 2 scholarships this year. Ideally, it would be great if we could get one from Bastrop County and one from Lee County. I have talked with the AgriLife or the 4-H people, and currently there are no Bastrop 4-H or Lee 4-H students that are in the Water Ambassador program. But Jerry specifically said that financing could help incentivize students to actually participate in it.
So does it go to just to the 4-H people or to the high schools and junior high schools? Or,
You mean
what do you
distributing
say,
the
your
information?
usual people, is that, I'm sorry, I don't know. who they
Yeah,
are.
no, that's okay. So I'll do middle schools and high schools.
Okay.
All our newspapers, our local newspapers. And then I'm in contact with the AgriLife and 4-H people, both in Bastrop and in Lee.
I guess,
Go ahead.
I guess what I'm saying is that we should go beyond 4-H and let it be known.
Yes.
If in a newspaper article that, you know, any student can apply for it.
Yeah.
If they get it, they will have to join 4-H, but they don't have to be in 4-H.
Correct. Basically, the only requirement for for our scholarship is that you're in the 4-H Water Ambassador Program.
Well,
So you can't get our scholarship if you're not already
yeah,
accepted
right,
into the
right.
program.
well, and that's the
If you join-
scholarship program says you don't have to be a 4-H member, but when you become an ambassador, you have to join.
Correct.
Something like
Do you ever, do homeschoolers have a way to get in on this?
I think homeschoolers can be in 4-H.
Sure, but I mean, do you know, I mean, do they have sometimes they have groups or something, I mean, are they on your mail out list?
I do not, they may be, homeschoolers groups may actually be, on our social media. I am unaware of that. But I have already talked with the 4-H for both counties. And I told them I'll distribute to them flyers and all the information that they can then distribute to all their contacts. They're already on board to distribute all their contacts as well. Yeah.
Have you looked at that, FFA?
No. To distribute?
They're just getting credit in high school
Yeah.
for FFA classes. 4-H is just getting knowledge.
I'll look into expanding to distribute to them. That's a good idea. Thank you.
I also want to say thank you to Claire for working really hard to get the grant written by the 19th. Thank you.
Thank you, Claire, that was amazing.
Yeah, my pleasure. All right. Okay, thanks everyone.
Next up, Management Committee, Director Dexter.
Hey, the management committee met on March 4th. In attendance, in addition to myself, Elvis, Cheryl, Herb, Jim, Claire Mark, Natasha and Bobby joined remotely. I gave an overview of the management committee duties, which are as follows. Number 1, update the district management plan on a 5-year schedule. And 2, update district rules as needed. Groundwater conservation districts in Texas must update their management plan at least every 5 years, to make the updated plan to the Texas Water Development Board for approval. Present plan does not need to be updated until 2027, 2028. Okay, and as Mr. Totten provides plan update as here. Okay. District rules are updated as follows. New rules and rule modifications are proposed. Rules are drafted by the district lawyers with input from the management committee. Management committee reviews the draft rules, modifications made as necessary. The board of direction then reviews the redrafted rules over 2 meetings. Give everybody a chance. There is a rules hearing that is held. Proposed rules are changed as needed. Okay, and then the entire board votes on the proposed rule. Some proposed rules and rule changes were presented based upon previous information. Full committee began some discussion on this. Committee action item list is the process of being developed. And we want to try and get a schedule and timeline for the action items developed for review. Okay, anybody have any questions? Comments?
I have none. Thank you for great synopsis of the meeting. That's what really.
Thank you.
Director Schechter, I would, and not to mess up his very, very succinct presentation, but one thing that was discussed was pushing any possible changes in rules to the end of the legislative session. Making sure that one, that we don't conduct a hearing that's immediately nullified by a change in law, or 2, that we don't have to go back and fix something that we just did. So that was part of the discussion as well, was that for this year, because it is a session, probably best to do any full updates in the fall.
Any other comments or questions on that? All right, with that then, we'll move on to item 4H, General Manager's Report. Mr. Cotton.
Thank you, Mr. President, members of the board. During the reporting period from February 1st to February 8th, there were 13 new exempt wells that were registered for drilling within the district. No pre-existing wells were registered with us. 2 water quality tests were performed and 4 wells were gauged. I triple checked the drought conditions, and I'm starting to believe that they may have fired people at drought.gov because the numbers haven't changed in 3 months. There's a 1% drift up and down, but basically we have not seen a significant change in drought conditions since January, which is good news, but I've never seen that in my years here, so I'm a little suspicious.
No, look at the National Weather Service map, it's been changing, it's getting worse.
So we've traditionally relied on drought.gov. We may need to look for a new supplier for that data because I'm a little suspicious at this point. But basically drought conditions as reported by drought.gov are unchanged from where they were in February last month. We already spoke about the GMA, the need to find a new provider for the explanatory report, and LRE's willingness to step in and take that up for us. So we will take that to the next GMA meeting, and hopefully we can get the explanatory report put to bed. Additionally, as President Hernandez mentioned, we have developed an initial well file that will be sent out to the remainder of the district to try and create a common well file for the GMA. Worked with Gretchen on that, getting it put together and evaluating it. We got the numbers close to the previous DFCs, but realizing that as soon as the other districts start plugging in their numbers, we're going to have to come back and make revisions. It becomes a very multivariate process, whereas we revise ours, they have to revise theirs. But we're at least at a starting point where we can hand that over to the other districts to build a common well file. There was, similar to last cycle, there is curtailment that's built into that well file in order for us to maintain that DFC the board had previously adopted. So there will be, and that will be reflected in the well file, that we are having to reduce production over time in order to achieve that DFC. We did make a modification based on recommendations from Bill Hutchison in the past, where historically we use ramp ups of production, going from current day production to some full value based on projected population growth and demand growth. Bill has stated several times in the last couple of years that really doesn't make a difference in the outcome of the model file. So for this well file, we just starting on day 1, turned on all of the production and ran it constantly across the planning horizon. It'll make some differences, minor differences in how we look at some of the production and some of the impacts. But overall, I think that just removes one point of contention that people could possibly look at and say, well, your ramp is too aggressive or it's not aggressive enough. So we just turned on the well file and ran it full bore, and then curtailed as necessary to achieve those DFCs. So like I say, we'll hand those over to the GMA, build a common well file, and then make some further refinements, and hopefully be ready in the next month or so to have one starting point for all of the districts about where we're looking at for desired future conditions. As previously mentioned, we did submit a grant proposal. Claire did fantastic work getting that put together. We requested $50,000 from the Water Development Board with a commitment from the district to match an additional $50,000. Best estimate, or I guess the worst case estimate, that should be enough for about 50 wells if we got 50,000 from the district and 50,000 from us. Agricultural meters can run up to $6,000 a piece, so is that right? It should be sufficient to cover the majority of the agricultural meters in the district. If the state dials us back and only gives 30,000, we can still use our remaining 50. That'll cover the majority of our agricultural needs. So we will keep you up to date on that and see how when we get a determination from the Water Development Board. As previously mentioned, we did go through after the February board meeting, the SDR wells. We found it was full of duplicate wells. There were 2,100 total wells from the state drillers reports system. 844 of those were unique. 1,200 of them were some form of repeat. Of the 1,200, around 400 or so were actually unique. So combined, when you put those numbers together, about 1,200 unique entries altogether. We've cleaned out the majority of those. We've gone through and reassigned the obvious oil and gas wells to oil and gas rather than leaving them as SDR unreported. So we're in the process of getting that cleaned up. And then the next step is going to be matching the wells that don't, the unique SDR wells against our existing database to see if we can filter out more of the wells that are, whether it was wrong GPS on the driller's report, or if we've updated since, or if the owners' names have changed, to try and filter out as many of the wells that are already in our system. That'll give us a target list for wells that exist that are not registered, that we can start going after to try and get them into our registration system. So that is an ongoing process, but we are working through it to get it cleaned up at this point. With that said, we do still have the two pending permits. Aqua S Field, we're waiting. Bill's been tied up with the Texas New Mexico lawsuit, so we're waiting on him for that. SLR Properties is looking to move, basically add 3 new wells to their existing aggregate well field. They provided the modeling. That modeling is now with Bill as well for review. So once we get Bill's sign off on the modeling work that they did.
God, where is this?
Aqua S Field, it's on,
Yeah.
it's on 304. Then as far as upcoming meetings, we have GMA 12 scheduled for April 23rd at Post Oak's office. Region K is starting its series of public hearings on the initially prepared plan. Those are going to be held at the LCRA Center, Dalco Center in Austin on the 17th, and also at the LCRA offices in LaGrange on May 7th. There'll be another one up Basin, I believe, in Vernon. I don't think anybody here wants to make the drive to Vernon, so I just focused on the 2 closest hearings. So we've added the public notice for that to our district website. It's on our calendar. So if you look at the calendar, you can see where the LCRA hearings are, the dates for the LCRA hearings. That links back to the IPP information. Region G is going a different direction. They are just holding, at this point, it looks like a single hearing on their initially prepared plan, and that will be May 6th at the Brazos River Authority offices in Baker. So that is the, basically this is the last step, kind of the last step to take in public comment on the regional water plans before the groups go through and finalize the plans and submit them to the state. So that's where we're at with them. With that, we'd be happy to answer any questions. Yes, ma'am.
I see that in February, paid out $39,725 on a mitigation reimbursement. Could you describe the scenario that required that much money?
That would have been a well replacement. Let me see which one that is.
Joey.
Yes, ma'am. So that was a whole replacement. That was, you had a shallow well that was being impacted. As you recall, the mitigation programs actually covers all aquifers in the district that are being impacted by production. He had a very shallow well that was located just south of the Manville Blue Fields. And essentially the well more or less bottomed out. There was no water left in the casing itself. So the only solution to get that water was to replace the well.
How shallow is it?
I believe his original well was 200-ish feet. It was relatively shallow. So being that it was a shallow well and it was being impacted, the solution was to move him down to the next deep aquifer. And then, so
how deep did they have to go?
I believe that well ended up being 500 foot.
Really?
Yes, ma'am. Because he went down from Calvert Bluff, or from Calvert Bluff down into the Simsboro. And so had to go deeper and then have big room to set the pumps deep to allow for possible impact in the future going forward. The only other option was to go to the Hooper, and that's even deeper with less quality water. So we went with a deeper Simsboro in that area, deep pump set to avoid having to come back and mitigate in the future.
Do you think we're likely to start seeing more cases like this?
I think we're going to see coming up in South Bastrop County as GPRA and AWRA projects come online. We're going to see a lot down there, or I shouldn't say a lot. We're going to see some down there, and then just going at our current levels of production. I don't really think we're going to see much, but as some of these larger projects come online, yes, ma'am, we're going to have people that are being impacted by those.
So Jim, what was the breakdown in cost for that 39,000?
It was I recall 24,000 for the drilling and about 14 for the equipment and everything else. That's just off the top of my head.
What's the status of SLR that we're requesting? What, I can't remember what it.
They're seeking to add 3 new wells to their existing well field. So they conduct, since Bill was tied up, they voluntarily conducted their own modeling, supplied that report to Bill for review. So when we hear back from him, that's good.
And are those in Lee County?
Yes, sir.
You know, they just go through, SLR just signed a big contract with T1 for a big solar cell factory employing 1,800 people, which requires lots of water. So they're probably gonna be.
Yeah, I believe this is really more about optimizing the supply for the water they
Right
already sell
now.
to Manville. But yeah,
Right now, but that's coming.
Any other questions for Mr. Todd? Right, seeing none, we'll move on to item 4I, consideration of future agenda items. We know we have 2 items from today that we're going to be moving forward, the discussion of the management plan objectives and also finalizing the monitoring well updates. And we've got the Aquifer 101 training. So those are the 3 things I've got noted for April. Anything else? Anyone else? All right. And then discussion, item 4J, discussion, consideration, and possible action on district board meeting calendar. I'm not aware of anything different on our calendar. And lastly,
until they calendar the Rambo hearing, that's the only other thing that would be.
yeah. Okay, that's correct. And we don't know that yet. So, right, item 4K, setting the date and location of the next meeting. The next meeting is April 16th, 3rd Wednesday of next month, which I've got down as April 16th. It'll be here in Giddings, same time, 3:30, same place, here in Giddings. With that, the meeting is adjourned at 4:32 p.m. Thank you.